Go eat. Go make an omelet.
The produce
How are
mom,
ya?
Lori Taylor's
So
here.
Well, I just pulled this amazing goat cheese mushroom tart out of the oven. So we're going to get to this in a minute and show everyone how to prepare that. And I love that our recipes today all use like one master recipe. So we're going to show you've got some delicious sauteed mushrooms and onions, and we're going to prepare them in the tart as well as in an omelet. So let's get these eggs cooking.
And Lori, as you do that, you taught me something when I walked in the studio this morning. I've always loved mushrooms, but I did not know of their nutritional value. And there's one vitamin in particular that...
So your mainstream mushrooms, so your top 3 varieties that are sold in America are your white mushrooms, your baby bella mushrooms, and your portobellas. And what's become the industry standard, there was one grower, Monterey Mushrooms, who innovated this, where once, because mushrooms are grown like in caves, like underground, outside of the sunlight. But they developed a step in their harvest system where after the mushrooms were picked, they exposed them to a UV light, and then the mushroom converted that UV light to a natural source of vitamin D. Really profound, because it's the only natural source of vitamin D that you're going to find.
Can I ask you a dumb question real quick?
Sure.
Can you get these onions, these mushrooms in Indiana just walking through the woods, or what?
Well, so these are, those would be like the foraging mushrooms, like morels and stuff like that. So no, these are the mushrooms that are farmed, you know, so it's a great question, but the answer would be no. Not traditionally. I mean, could you? Sure, you could, but that's just not typically what happens. All right, so we're gonna get this this omelet cooking here. Let's actually start. I'm gonna make those eggs cook a little bit more. So in the dish here, I've got 1 yellow onion that's sautéing with 1 of the containers of the white mushrooms. So I think it's also important to remind people, if you want to wash your mushrooms, you should always wash your produce before. Just a gentle rinse, because mushrooms are like a sponge. They'll very quickly get like totally saturated. And the same thing occurs like if you're cooking them in an oil, like be mindful of how much oil or butter you're using, because they'll get really saturated, and because they do have that sponge-like texture, and they take on whatever flavor you add to them. All right, so I'm going to hit this with just a little bit of sherry vinegar, kind of following the salt, fat, acid, heat. You know, we've already cooked these in a little bit of olive oil and butter, so finishing it with that sherry vinegar will just brighten it up a little. Okay, so who wants to be put to work? Either of you? Oh, come on. All right, so let's assemble the tart. This is super fun. All right, so puff pastry, pre-made, buy it at the grocery store. And then I'm going to put these in here for you. And you can get started. See that goat cheese? You can put the goat cheese on.
Just in just kind of strips, or?
However, well, that's brie.
You can
do the brie. It doesn't matter.
Okay, no, I wanted to do it the right way.
You can do whatever you want.
Okay.
Okay, and then this will be for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is that enough goat cheese?
Yeah, however you want. That's kind of the beauty of this recipe. You do what you do.
Do what you want to do, George.
These mushrooms smell fantastic.
Don't they smell great?
Well, you had me when you said you'd cooked them in butter, because mushrooms soaking up butter, that's not a bad thing.
No. Perfect. And then you can finish it off. These are just some roasting herbs, as you would like. No big deal. And then we are at the point here where I can start adding those toppings for the omelet. This might end up being a scramble.
Hey, I like scrambles better.
I know. It's like I don't have my egg pan, and it's a disaster already. All right,
do I need to put the brie in as well, or is that?
No, the brie's going over here.
Oh, okay,
I want the brie for this.
This is exactly how I make my omelets. Oh, it's a scramble.
I know. So this was actually inspired. We had the best team lunch recently at Cafe Patachu, and they had a brie and mushroom omelet on the menu, and it was delicious. All right, so we'll let this kind of hang out, and we'll plate it in the second segment. So I'm going to try to get this looking like a omelet. All right, this looks fantastic. So I think the only thing I'm going to...
That was my thought too, Randy.
The only thing I'm going to kind of change here.
Flatten it out
I'm going to flatten it a little, because we're going to have to put this on a baking sheet. And then we don't want the leftover mushrooms, so add more mushrooms.
Oh, okay.
Get it off this.
All
That
right.
might help. There you go.
I just dumped the whole thing on there, George.
Well, that's good thinking, Randy. You and I think alike.
Yep.
I want to try a mushroom.
Yeah.
I'm in the mood now.
Yeah, now that they're soaked in butter.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, perfect. And then you can just, and then if there's more goat cheese, we'll add a little bit more goat cheese on the top. Pass that over.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
George, you're doing a
Perfect.
great job there, buddy.
That's
I
perfect.
can follow
Yeah,
instructions.
you do.
so, yeah.
Better
All right. And then I don't know if there's any more fresh herbs, but we'll put some of those on. Okay, and then this goes into the oven, 350. It'll take about 20 minutes.
Oh, so I thought we had to do something to create that sort of puffiness on the edges, but that just happens in the
It'll
oven.
just happen.
Cool.
Isn't that cool?
Okay. All right.
And then you can just serve that up. There's a knife there if we want to cut it. And this is a great way to take your mushrooms from breakfast with the sort of omelet, sort of scrambled. Look, it's coming together.
Hey,
as
that's an
omelet, right? I know.
Vitamin D, so.
Anytime I make omelets, I'm like, oh, I can never do it as good as the person at the hotel buffet.
It tastes the same.
Do you want to try this, Randy?
Oh, if I have to, George,
Okay.
I guess so. So I'll go ahead and do it.
What do you think?
That was a good bite.
You approve?
I do.
Okay, good.
It is good, good, good.
I'm so glad you like
Amber,
it.
Randy is getting his vitamin D in front of a live television audience.
I love that. All things